Tonight's story takes us to Bangor, Maine, a place known for its quiet streets, old houses, and of course as the hometown of legendary horror writer Stephen King. But what many don't realize is that in the early 1980s, Bangor wasn't just famous for fiction. It carried whispers of a true cursed object. Toy. A harmless-looking vintage monkey with brass cymbals. Locals said whenever the cymbals clapped, someone nearby would die. Stephen King himself may have immortalized the legend in his 1980 short story The Monkey. But the spine-chilling truth is that reports of these haunted toys were circulating long before fiction put them on the page. And tonight, we'll tell you one of the darkest accounts ever whispered in New England. A story of inheritance, brotherhood, and the sound of cymbals in the night. This is the monkey toy curse. In 1981, in a quiet two-story home just outside Bangor, twin brothers Michael and Daniel Grafton were clearing out their late father's house. Their father had been a collector, antiques, oddities, dusty relics of another time. The attic was crammed with trunks, books, and boxes left untouched for decades. The air was suffocating, heavy with dust. Every step on the wooden floor groaned, as though the house itself resented their presence. And then they found it. Inside a battered chest, wrapped in yellowed newspaper, sat a toy monkey. Its fur was matted, a faded brown. The face was molded plastic, its grin stretched too wide. In its small hands, two tarnished brass cymbals gleamed faintly in the shaft of light from the attic window. Michael laughed when he saw it. "Dad kept junk like this? It's creepy as hell." Daniel wound the key on its back out of curiosity. The gears whirred, stiff and jerky from age. The monkey raised its arms and brought the cymbals together. Clang, clang, clang. The sound was sharp, echoing through the attic like metal on bone. The brothers laughed uneasily. But when the toy stopped, silence filled the air with a strange finality. A silence that felt wrong. That same night, their father's old parakeet, still kept in a cage in the kitchen, was found dead. The bird had been healthy that morning, chirping as usual. Now it lay stiff on the bottom of the cage. Michael joked nervously, "Guess the monkey's cursed." Daniel didn't laugh, because just hours earlier he had thought he heard the cymbals again. He was sure the monkey had clapped once more, even though it sat still in the corner of the living room where they'd left it. Days later, tragedy struck again. Their next-door neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, a kind elderly woman who had baked them cookies since childhood, collapsed suddenly in her garden. A heart attack, the doctor said. But Daniel swore he heard it again. That metallic echo. The clashing of cymbals. Only this time, it had been faint, muffled, like it came from inside the walls. Michael brushed it off. Coincidence. People die every day. But coincidences don't pile up. They multiply. They stalk. And the monkey's grin seemed wider every time Daniel looked at it. By the second week, tragedy struck closer to home. The family dog, Jasper, a loyal black lab, suddenly went mad in the middle of the night. He barked at the corner of the living room where the monkey sat on the mantel. His fur bristled, his body stiff, as if staring at something neither brother could see. Then Jasper yelped. A cry of terror, not pain. He bolted out the dog door into the night, never to return. The brothers searched the woods for hours. No sign, no tracks, no body. The only sound that night was the faint echo of clang, clang, clang. The final straw came 2 weeks later. Their cousin Anthony visited from Portland. He was the type to laugh at ghost stories, always the skeptic. When he saw the toy monkey, he picked it up and sneered. This is what you're scared of? It's a piece of junk. Watch this." He wound up. The monkey's cymbals clashed, echoing through the house. Its eyes seemed to gleam in the dim light. Anthony left that night. On the drive back, his car veered off Route 2 and struck a tree. He died instantly. The phone rang the next morning. Michael answered. He dropped the receiver. His face went pale. Daniel asked, "What happened?" Michael whispered, "The cymbals. I heard them last night, just before the phone rang. I swear I heard them." By now, the brothers were terrified. Michael insisted on throwing the monkey out. They placed it in a trash bag and left it at the curb. The next morning it was back, sitting neatly in the living room chair. Neither brother admitted to bringing it back inside, but both knew what it meant. The monkey wasn't leaving, and every time those cymbals clashed, someone else was marked. The deaths had begun small, pets, neighbors, but now the circle was tightening. The brothers had inherited more than a house. They had inherited something ancient, something relentless. And in the silence of the night, the toy's painted grin seemed to stretch wider, waiting, because somewhere in Bangor the cymbals were about to clash again. Michael and Daniel Grafton discovered a strange toy monkey in their late father's attic in Bangor, Maine. At first it was just a creepy antique, but soon, pets, neighbors, and even relatives began dying after the monkey's cymbals clashed. No matter what they did, the toy always returned. And now, the curse was about to grow stronger. It began innocently enough, or so they told themselves. 3 nights after Anthony's death, Daniel awoke to the sound. Clang, clang, clang. He bolted upright in bed, heart hammering. His room was dark, but he knew where the sound came from. The living room. He crept down the stairs, each step creaking beneath his feet. When he entered, the room was empty, silent. The monkey sat motionless on the mantel, its arms lowered, its eyes staring. But on the floor beneath it lay fresh brass shavings, tiny flecks as though the cymbals had truly struck together. 2 days later, tragedy struck again. A coworker of Michael's collapsed suddenly at the mill where he worked. No illness, no warning. Just gone. That night, Michael confessed. "I heard it. The cymbals. I swear I heard them yesterday, right before the call came through." The brothers were no longer laughing. They were terrified. Desperate, Daniel sought out Father Callahan, a local priest known for blessing homes. He explained everything, voice shaking. The monkey, the cymbals, the deaths. At first, the priest thought it was grief talking. But when Daniel insisted, he agreed to visit. That evening, Father Callahan entered the house with holy water and a crucifix. The monkey sat on the mantel as always, its grin frozen. The priest sprinkled water and recited prayers. Halfway through he stopped. His hand trembled. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. Michael and Daniel exchanged nervous glances. They heard nothing. But the priest's face turned pale. He dropped the vial, shattering it on the floor. "It's laughing," he said before fleeing the house. He never returned. The story didn't stay quiet. Whispers spread in Bangor about the cursed monkey. That's when a man named Henry Mallory contacted the brothers. Mallory was an antique collector with a taste for the macabre. He had heard of haunted objects before, mirrors, dolls, clocks, but never a toy monkey. "If it's truly cursed," he said, "I'll take it off your hands." The brothers agreed. Anything to be rid of it. Mallory carried the monkey out in a box, his face gleaming with excitement. For 3 nights the house was silent. No cymbals, no deaths. Michael began to breathe again. Daniel dared to sleep. Then the news came. Mallory had been found dead in his study. His heart stopped. On the floor beside him lay the monkey, its cymbals locked in mid-clash. The police report noted his shelves had toppled, every antique smashed, except one, the monkey. Word spread faster after Mallory's death. Local newspapers called it superstition. Reporters compared it to an old Stephen King plot made real. One journalist visited the brothers, demanding proof. He scoffed when they showed him the toy. It's just gears and tin. Nothing more. That night, the journalist drove back toward Portland. Witnesses later claimed his car engine cut out on a quiet stretch of road. The vehicle veered into a ditch. When officers found him, he was dead. In the passenger seat sat the monkey, its arms frozen mid-swing. By now, the curse was no longer confined to the brothers' family. Every person who mocked it, every person who touched it, every person who ignored the warnings, they all paid the price. Michael began to spiral. He avoided the living room. He refused to look at the mantle. He told Daniel he couldn't sleep because every time he closed his eyes, he heard it. Clang, clang, clang. Daniel began keeping a log, noting every time they thought they heard it, and every death that followed. The pattern was undeniable. The monkey cymbals were a death knell, a countdown, and no one could escape once the sound began. By now, the brothers understood one thing. The monkey wasn't just haunted. It wasn't simply cursed. It was hungry. And the more people dismissed it, the more it claimed. The brothers tried priests. They tried collectors. They tried skeptics. And each time the monkey returned, waiting. Because in Bangor, Maine, there was no escaping the cymbals. And the worst was still to come. By the winter of 1981, the brothers had reached their limit. Michael was gaunt, his face pale, his eyes sunken from lack of sleep. Daniel spoke less and less, his journal filled with frantic scribbles. Dates, names, times when the cymbals rang. The monkey hadn't just claimed neighbors, co-workers, and outsiders. Now tragedy struck closer. Their aunt collapsed in her kitchen. Their childhood friend drowned in a nearby lake, despite being a strong swimmer. Each time the brothers swore they heard it. Clang, clang, clang. They knew the truth. The monkey wasn't content with strangers. It was circling closer. Michael snapped first. One night, in a rage, he grabbed the toy from the mantel and hurled it into the fireplace. Flames roared up, consuming the old tin and brass. The brothers stood frozen, watching the fire devour the cursed toy. But then, the cymbals clashed. Once, twice. The sound rang from the fire itself. And when the flames died down, the monkey remained, blackened, charred, but still smiling, still watching. Desperation led Daniel to contact a psychic in Portland, an older woman named Margaret Hensley, who specialized in cursed antiques. She came with candles, chalk, and salt. She demanded silence as she prepared a ritual circle around the toy. "It's not a ghost," she said. "It's older, something that latches onto objects. You cannot simply burn it. You must sever its tether." The brothers watched as she lit candles and chanted. The room grew cold. The shadows stretched unnaturally long. Then the monkey moved. Its arms clashed together, cymbals ringing loud and clear. The candles blew out. The chalk markings smeared as though dragged by unseen hands. Margaret gasped, clutching her throat. Her eyes bulged, and then she collapsed, dead. The brothers didn't move her body. They couldn't. The monkey sat still at the center of the circle. its cymbals resting, its grin wider than before. By spring, Bangor whispered openly about the brothers. Death followed them like a shadow. People crossed the street to avoid them. Daniel began to unravel. He swore the monkey was moving closer each night, shifting positions when no one was looking. Michael grew violent, lashing out at anyone who spoke the toy's name. One night, during a thunderstorm, Daniel made a decision. He carried the monkey to the barn behind their father's house. With an axe in his hands, he raised it high. "This ends tonight." The axe came down with a crash. The monkey split in two. Brass gears spilled across the floor. The cymbals clattered separately onto the wood. For the first time, silence filled the air. But it didn't last. The barn shook violently. Every light bulb shattered at once. Outside, neighbors claimed they heard a sound louder than thunder. Clang, clang, clang. The next morning, the barn was ash, reduced to smoldering ruin. Inside, investigators found no trace of the monkey. Only two bodies, Michael and Daniel. Bangor never forgot. Some said the monkey was destroyed that night, that the curse finally claimed its last victims. Others swore it wasn't gone. In the months that followed, antique shops in New England reported strange wind-up monkeys appearing in shipments, never ordered, never accounted for. Collectors whispered of cymbals clashing in the dead of night. Families reported sudden tragedies after acquiring a toy they couldn't remember buying. And to this day, locals in Bangor warn children, if you ever hear the cymbals, run. Because cursed objects never truly die. And the monkey still waits for the next hands foolish enough to pick it up. And so, the legend of the haunted cymbal monkey that brings death lingers. A tale buried in whispers, stitched into Bangor's dark history, and immortalized in Stephen King's fiction. But remember, fiction is only safe when it stays on the page. In real life, the cymbals still echo. The cymbal monkey was never just a toy. It was a warning. A reminder that some objects don't belong to us. They belong to the darkness. The Grafton brothers tried to destroy it, but in the end, the monkey destroyed them. And even now, whispers of its return haunt antique shops and collectors across New England. So, the next time you see one of those wide-eyed wind-up monkeys grinning back at you, remember this story. Because once the cymbals start to clash, there's no stopping the sound of death. This was Dark Horror Bites, and the nightmare never really ends.